My name is Tristan Brodsky. I'm 24 years old and I'm a photographer from Easton, Pennsylvania, specializing in conceptual and lifestyle portraiture. I started photography in my junior year of high school. One day I was hanging out with a friend of mine who had a DSLR of her own, and I asked her if I could try it out and take a few photos for myself. I instantly fell in love with it, and I went home that night and asked my parents if they would get me one for Christmas. Luckily, they listened, and from there I started taking photos of my friends' cars. Me and my friend Emerson started exploring a lot of abandoned places, going to New York City and Philadelphia a lot, taking photos of the streets and cityscapes. My favorite thing about photography is that it really helps me express my emotions in a healthy way. Ever since I started doing conceptual photography, I constantly have people reach out to me and tell me that a photo I've taken really helps them cope or feel better about a situation they're dealing with in their personal lives. Knowing that I can take a photo that someone finds meaning in or helps them heal in a certain way really makes creating that photo so much better. My favorite photo shoot that I've ever done is really difficult for me to choose, but I think if I had to narrow it down, I would pick the red balloon shoot that I did with my friend Julian for my book Alone in the Dark. I had the idea for about a year, and we had to wait until the weather was right for him to be able to get in the water and everything like that. Once we had finally gotten it done, it was just such an overwhelming feeling of relief knowing that it was the last shoot that I wanted to do for the book, and I had the idea for about a year, like I said, so it just felt really good to get it done. I get inspired from a lot of different things. It might be a movie scene or a song lyric that sparks an idea for me, but lately I've been finding a lot of inspiration in music videos. Overall, I would say my main source of inspiration usually just comes from my friends and fellow creatives that I follow online. Last October, I released my first photo book, Alone in the Dark. Alone in the Dark is a 50-page photo book compiled of mostly unseen images made to spread mental health awareness. All of the concepts in the book were created to depict the feelings and situations that go along with mental illnesses such as depression, anxiety, eating disorders, bipolar disorders, etc. If you'd like to check it out and grab a copy for yourself, you can head over to my website, tristanbrodskyphoto.com, under the shop category, and you'll find it there. Thank you.
Hey there, Golden Bears. Welcome back to KU Hacks. This week we're going to be discussing the many uses of ground beef. You can use ground beef for anything. Beef patties, meatballs, casseroles, tacos. We're going to be covering a few of those uses today. For starters, we're going to make some meatballs. You're going to need to scramble just a couple eggs. We're making a small batch, so we just used one here. Next, you'll want to prep your breadcrumbs. You just want to get some from a can, prepackaged from the store, and lace them out on a nice plate. This next step's optional, but if you'd like, make sure to add spices to your egg mixture now. Using your hands, you'll want to form the ground beef into balls roughly 1 inch in diameter. And then you'll dredge them in your egg and spice mixture, before then rolling them in the breadcrumbs. And you'll repeat this for all the meatballs you're making. You'll want to preheat your oven to 375 and then place your meatballs on a cooking sheet. They'll cook for roughly 15 minutes, but depending on the diameter, you might want to check them with a toothpick just to make sure they're cooked all the way through. And there you have it, some meatballs. You can throw those right in the sauce, have them on your pasta, or make a meatball sub. Next, we're going to be making burger patties, and you follow basically the exact same process for this, but instead of a meatball, you're going to be making a patty. But same procedure, you dredge it in your egg and spice mixture, coat it in breadcrumbs. And then of course, you just grill these up like any other burger patty. Nice propane grill, maybe charcoal. Get some good grill lines on there. And lastly today, we'll just be throwing together a very basic taco meat. You can use this in any sort of taco, burrito, enchilada. It's more about the seasoning rather than it being for a taco itself. This is really simple. You just throw ground beef in a pan, its fat will render down as it starts to cook. You'll want to add some sort of salsa or tomato sauce to add a little more flavor and color to the meat. And of course you'll want to stir regularly to make sure that none of the beef sticks to the bottom of your pan. If you'd like to finish it off with any extra spices, now would be the time to do it. Otherwise, it's perfectly ready as it is. You can throw it on a taco shell and go right to town. Now you may be wondering, KTV, I bought all this ground beef, but I'm full, I can't eat anymore. Well, lucky for you, ground beef freezes incredibly well. You can either throw it in the freezer as is, or pre-make your meatballs or beef patties and just throw them in the freezer so that way you can just cook them whenever you'd like one. That's all the time we have for today, Golden Bears. We hope you enjoyed this episode of KU Hacks. I can't wait to see you next time.
Do you know where you are?
I'm in a dream.
That's right, Dolores. You're in a dream. Have you ever questioned the nature of your reality?
Welcome to Westworld. No orientation. No guidebook. All our hosts are here for you.
Hello, my name is Devin Hurst from the Two Dudes Cinema Club production team, and today I'll be filling in for our usual hosts of Brian and Nick to talk to you about the hit HBO original, Westworld. The primetime streaming network HBO is back with another mind-bending sci-fi adventure, 5 years after the premiere of their original poster child, Game of Thrones.
What? Some startup in Costa Rica.
How the fuck you can get that to Costa Rica?
In pieces, man.
Directed by Jonathan Nolan, Christopher Nolan's brother, and his spouse, Lisa Joy, Westworld began airtime in 2016. The show has since developed into a roller coaster of suspense, anarchy, tear-jerking moments, and most importantly, confusion. Westworld takes place in the year 2058. Society is beyond advanced, and even more beyond corrupt. The show follows a set of characters as they embark through a Western American-themed amusement park. But this isn't your typical amusement park. There's no merry-go-round, not once, in all 3 seasons, not even a tilt-a-whirl. But putting that to the side, this is a different type of amusement park. This amusement park is an entire world, spanning around 181 miles across. The wealthy, and again, equally corrupt patrons, who spend their time here, are free to live however they please. No rules aside from killing other guests. populated by a massive arrangement of androids that they call hosts, that are indistinguishable from real guests. These hosts are designed to make the guests stay enjoyable, giving them work such as bounties, sexual favors, old-timey Western showdowns, literally anything they could desire. The drama begins when a service update causes a few hosts to begin to develop sentience and remember memories of their past lives, previous storylines that they were a part of. All of the torment that they were subjected to live is coming back to them.
What are your drives?
To meet my maker.
The realization starts to set in that their lives are being controlled, nothing that they do matters, and they can start to fight back against this corrupt system. As the story unfolds and lines are drawn, the show does an incredible job blurring those lines between good and evil. You find yourself rooting for the employees at first, but that quickly shifts between supporting their goals and wanting the AI hosts to succeed and live the lives that they desire in the real world. As more information is revealed and the plot develops, it becomes a mind-numbing adventure full of excitement and action. With an incredible cast featuring Evan Rachel Woods, Jeffrey Wright, Ed Harris, Luke Hemsworth, Anthony Hopkins, Tessa Thompson, Aaron Paul, and many more, the actors and actresses do an incredible job between acting like real people and then their more robotic, mechanical personalities.
So, but you've referred to the role you play as this host, as this robotic person, to be the acting Olympics.
Yes.
Which made perfect sense once I heard it, but explain what you mean.
Well, because in the show, we're kind of called upon to do these shifts of energy very quickly because we operate off of voice commands. So I'll be in a full panic attack, and then someone will go, lose all emotional affect. So I'll have to go, and then like back into character mode, and then back to half character, half analysis mode. And like sometimes I have an accent, and sometimes I don't. And sometimes I have to be completely deadpan. But in the script once it said no facial expression, but crying through the eyes.
Oh,
and
man.
I thought.
With 2 seasons aired to completion and the 3rd season with only 3 episodes remaining, this is the perfect escape from quarantine in trying times like these. If this isn't on your quarantine bucket list already, it should be. Thanks.
This week's topic is laughing with tragedy. See, tragedy is an unavoidable pain that all people will experience in their life, but how we choose to deal with this tragedy is up to us. For some, it's in the bottom of a bottle. For others, they stare their pain in the face and embrace it. Another way to cope is laughter. Laughing in the face of tragedy can have a therapeutic effect, taking away its hold on us. Now, unless you're from another planet, I'm sure you're familiar with the phrase, laughter is the best medicine. Now, we can choose to laugh at tragedy, or we can choose to laugh in spite of it. Now, this typically depends largely on the nature of the tragedy and how much time has passed. Prolific author Mark Twain famously said, "Humor is tragedy plus time. Events that may haunt our past can, with enough time, be joked about." Take, for example, the footage from the Hindenburg disaster. Now, if you're unfamiliar, the Hindenburg was a passenger blimp that burst into flames and crashed in 1937, resulting in numerous casualties. But since then, however, you can find it used in TV shows such as Family Guy or The Simpsons. The "Oh, the humanity" heard in the video has been turned into a soundbite and added to countless internet videos. Even the sinking of the Titanic is still mocked for its humorous and quote-unquote unsinkability. This isn't to mock those affected by the tragedy or downplay its severity, but instead be a way to bring some semblance of positivity to an otherwise very dark situation. See, with enough time to process what has happened, we can almost always look to comedy to lighten the mood. Many comedians use the same tactic, but shine the light on themselves. Like we learned last week, some comedians use the audience for validation to take a place. Others who find them unhappy with themselves will turn to self-deprecating humor, making fun of themselves to make light of an otherwise imperfect situation.
Hey, you kid, I know I'm ugly. I stuck my head out the window, got arrested for mooning.
With the audience laughing, things can't be so bad, right? See, comedian Gabriel Iglesias does this by using his size for a lot of his punchlines. Now, if you're familiar with Mr. Iglesias, you know he isn't exactly the slimmest guy in the world, but he'll be the first one to tell you that. People coming to his shows have even taken to bringing him cakes as gifts, and he welcomes them with open arms. Now, being overweight isn't exactly a tragedy per se, but it's the same concept, minus having to wait the 70 years to make the joke. See, that's the glory of laughing your own tragedy, though. You decide when it can be laughed at, and whether or not it's quote-unquote too soon. See, this is the case for comedian Pete Davidson. You probably know him from Saturday Night Live, his stand-up specials, or being seen with his celebrity girlfriends that he somehow manages to date. What you may not be familiar with, however, is the fact that Pete's dad died in 9/11. Now, this tragedy affected the US and the entire world as a whole, but it affected Pete in a much more heartbreaking and personal way. Now, Pete was much younger than he is today when this happened, but since then has taken Mark Twain's quote to heart. Pete has since then been able to make jokes about the tragedy, including an especially heinous joke at the roast of Justin Bieber. See, humor is how many of us choose to deal with tragedy. Pete Davidson's story brings up another story about Saturday Night Live and 9/11. See, in the few weeks after 9/11, SNL took a hiatus, feeling that no one should be joking around at a time like this, and it made sense. This was a time for grieving and reflection, and comedy was the furthest thing from people's minds. SNL returned, however, and the opening monologue was given by New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Behind him stood 20 or 30 firemen and policemen who had all been working tirelessly at Ground Zero. Mayor Giuliani gave an impassioned speech about not living our lives in fear and instead in freedom. SNL, being the venue for this speech, showed that comedy is an important part of many people's lives and that its absence was noticed. It made its return, and people got to enjoy some normalcy again, if only for a few hours. This just goes to show that comedy can be used in spite of tragedy. It can be a salve for a wound, a distraction from difficult times, and a glimmer of light in an otherwise dark world.